All right, and sorry about that. Um, Thank each and every one of you for joining us today. What we're going to do here is we're going to get started with the introducing you to the Army CA program and how you could be an excellent fit to help our soldiers obtain civilian industry license and credentials. You play a critical role to their success in doing so. And the total outlook of why we do this is because not only do we want our soldiers to be beneficial when they leave the service, but while they're still in service, being able to obtain those civilian industry skill sets, they can take that knowledge and apply it to their jobs and not only save precious dollars for the government and for our country, but also could possibly save a life with some of the things they learned from our external vendors. So, again, that's where you come in, and we'll go ahead and get started here. So we're going to go over what is Army CA. We're going to talk a little bit about the new vendor process, what you would need to do as a new vendor. We'll go over the memorandum of agreement, the needed items for the application. You'll see those there. The approved vendor lists. Our program manager will jump in at the end, and we will have Q&A for any of you that may have questions. At any point in time, if you feel that you do have a question, feel free to put it in either the chat box or raise your hand, and either myself or one of our team members here will be more than happy to grab on and answer that question for you, or we'll pull it up in front of the entire group. So everybody, because you never know, everybody may have that same question. So we'll do it like that. So what is Army CA? The Army Credentialing Assistance Program is much like the tuition assistance program that soldiers use to get their bachelor's degrees, their master's degrees, their associate degrees, but ours is on the other side of the board. We look at taking care of soldiers' needs to get certifications and licensures that are provided and accepted by our industry partners. CA funds allow soldiers to pursue those voluntary credentials. CA is also a voluntary program, so this is something that the soldiers are going to do when they're off duty, not during their duty time. And the idea is that it's going to help improve the soldiers' total Army readiness, supporting them with their professional development, retaining quality soldiers, and preparing soldiers for a meaningful employment transition once they leave military service. Now, you're going to hear some of these slogans thrown around the time, and you may have a soldier come to you and say, I want to sign up for Army Cool. So, we're going to make sure you guys know the correct vernacular starting right off the bat. So, Army Credentialing Assistance. This is where the soldiers are going to go when they're ready to receive payment and request payment for these certifications and licensures. Army Cool. Each of the services has a quote unquote cool program, credentialing opportunities online. However, Army Cool, we do ours just a little bit different, where our payment branch is not listed in Army Cool. It's the Army CA, as I previously mentioned. But Army Cool is a repository, think of like a library for all of the credentials that soldiers have access to. And there's well over 2,000 credentials and licenses that soldiers can go in there and look at. And you, as a vendor or civilian industry partners, can go in there and look and see what's approved for Army CA and how what you offer can apply toward those soldiers and the training can apply toward them. It's a plethora of knowledge on that site. We definitely ask if you haven't had the chance to go out, you can use the link right there and go and find Army Cool. Look at all of the information that's on there. We have our approved vendors list, information about what soldiers should be doing in their process, how vendors should be starting their process. All of that information is right there. It's a public facing site on the Army Cool site. The AI portal, this is what you as vendors will go into to submit your application, to start your process for the Army CA program, to upload your courses and your documents and everything, this is where you will operate out of. Where soldiers, once you put everything in the system, it becomes live to the soldiers in Army Ignited. This is what they use to go through and select the courses that they're interested in and then request the credentialing assistance funds to have those courses, license, and credentials paid for. So all training providers, colleges, universities, and credentialing agencies, we refer to as vendor. So just so each and every one of you are aware, if you're an agency that fits into that category, you will be considered as a vendor as a whole. So soldiers are going to work their way through the Army Cool site to look for a credential that they're interested in. It'll give them all the information about the credential, the credentialing body, how long it takes to take the examination, how long the examination or the credential lasts as far as renewal is concerned. It gives them all that information there. Once they're ready to say, okay, this is a certification
Good
that I
afternoon.
want.
This is Lori in Financial Aid. How can I help you?
On a second here. Okay. Once soldiers have found that certification that they're interested in, they're going to go into Army Ignited. They're going to submit their request for a credentialing assistance request, and it's going to come to us, which we will be referred to as a capo. The Army Credentialing Assistance Program Office. That's, again, Mrs. Sweeney heads that up, and myself, Dottie, Dave, Mindy, and Tanya, we're the representatives that are going to be the ones that you speak to when you speak to a capo. That also kind of encompasses the finance section, but we'll talk about those guys a little bit later on. Soldiers are instructed to contact the vendor before they do anything in the system. We want our soldiers to jump out there and say, hey, I'm interested in taking this course with you to go toward this certification. Can you send me a price quote? For that price quote, it's going to be separate if you're offering study material, exams, and courses. We want those in separate price quotes. So if you say, you know what, we offer PMP training, but at the end of the training, we'll give you, you can also buy a voucher to get the exam. You would have to submit the soldier two separate price quotes for that because they're going to enter that in the system separately. We do not allow for bundling. When we came into the new system, that was one of the things that we had to do away with. So that's why we asked for these separate quotes to be provided. All soldiers are required to upload the quotes that match what the vendor lists in Army Ignited. So when you come to us and say, hey, I want to offer that PMP course, and this course is going to cost $2,500. Well, we expect that soldier's price quote when they come to say that it's that PMP course to go toward the PMP certification, and the cost is $2,500. Note the quote must have the soldier's name. It can have a start and end date, but one thing we definitely tell vendors is you don't have to put the start and end date, but at least make sure it has an expiration date on there. Let me see, include the information as if there's shipping costs and items like that. Make sure all of that and the vendor company name is on that price quote. So we know who to contact, who the soldier is, what they're going after, how much it costs. So our finance team can reach out and make that a seamless process. So when payment and receipts are received, so on the Army CA side, the soldier's not going to pay out of pocket. What they're going to do is they're going to submit that price quote. It'll get approved by our side to go over to finance for payment. The finance team will go into the system and they'll submit a notation that it's ready for payment. And you'll be able to see that on your home screen in the AI portal. And you download the authorization letter, and you run that credit card number and you submit that receipt into the system, then the soldier is eligible to start their course. A soldier cannot start a course without payment being made first. And please note that if a soldier pays out of pocket, we cannot refund the soldier. It has to be started and initiated through the Army CA first. So make sure you're letting soldiers know that if they say, well, I'll just pay this out of pocket and then Army CA will reimburse you guys, that's not the way it goes. It has to come out of the Army CA side first. So before creating an account in Army Ignited, it's important to have the following items, and for you, this would be the AI portal that you would be creating an account in. A cage code. Where there is a link to sam.gov. We'll make sure each and every one of you have that in the message traffic before we get off here. But we do not control sam.gov, but it is a federal mandate dated area for you to go and get your cage code. Your cage code is what will help identify you in the system as an active business. When we go into sam.gov, we're looking to verify that your business has been in there for at least 2 years and that the name that you're using in the AI portal matches what's in sam.gov. So you're going to make sure all that information is correct. And like you said, we can provide the cage code information as well as these slides at the end. So all of you will have that information of how to do that if you don't already have a cage code. If you don't have that information, you're not going to be able to participate in the Army CA program. These are required. There's other requirements, but these two right here are zero stops. You have to have these items or you cannot participate in Army CA. We will tell you that in the future, our payment process is going to change, and those cage codes are going to be critical to you having one and having it updated and valid in the system. So I would reach out if you haven't already done so. Once we send you the information, go through sam.gov, get your cage code assigned to you, and then you can start your process with Army CA. Do I have any questions on that first part before we move to the next? I know Sophia and the team has been answering questions in the background. Awesome. Well, then we will jump into the next section here, and that's the new vendor process. So being a new vendor, and many of you may have seen this message come right here before from one of our team members. This is going to be your invitational message that comes from the Army CA team. It's going to have, you see up there in the attachments, it has the vendor process guide, the information on doing your cage code in sam.gov, the requirements for the vendor application. There's each section of the application, and you'll see that here in just a little bit. It requires certain documents, and this document right here will explain to you what's required there and how to obtain it. And then, of course, the first thing that you should send in to us is the vendor MOA. This is your agreement with the Department of the Army and yourselves, making sure your name is in the top paragraph. And at the bottom, make sure a member of your team's hierarchy, leadership hierarchy, i.e., your CEO, your president, your director, someone in that leadership hierarchy is the signator. They print their name, they list the name of the company, and they put the date on there. Once that's done, you'll send that back to myself, Dottie, and Sophia in an email. We'll send that to our leadership for signature, and then you can begin your process in the system. You can see here, I'll go over just the top and the bottom of the MOA, but like I was saying, make sure your company's name is right here in the top part of the MOA. Then at the bottom, this is where you're going to make sure that the signature for that leadership hierarchy representative and their printed name is here, or their title goes right here, and the agency name right here. I would ask that once you get this MOA, if you haven't already done so, please read through it thoroughly, but note that this MOA is approved and designed at a high level as a catch-all for many different groups. So there may be some things that may not strictly apply to your business in the MOA. If that's the fact, give us the contact. We'll talk to you about it. And if we need to figure something out, we can do it from there. Again, key points on the MOA, fill out the top with your vendor name, read the entire MOA. Understand, like I was just saying, it's written at a high level. If you've got questions, feel free to ask. Print and sign the document at the bottom. Include that signatory information. And please do not use DocuSign. For some reason, when it comes over to us, if you use DocuSign, our leadership will not be able to sign it. If you need to, you're more than welcome to wet sign it and then scan it back in and send to us. Or you can, because it's a PDF document, you should be able to manipulate it and put in a digital signature. But please do not use DocuSign. We'll have to send it back to you and have you redo it. All right, so you've got the MOA turned in. Now it's time to start your journey with the Army CA family. And this is where your journey is going to begin. Again, that Army Cool website right there. We want you to start there before you do anything, before you look to put anything in the system, because we want you to go in and look, do I have training that aligns to a credential that's approved? Again, there's over 2,000 credentials in there for you to look through. You can you can click on the credential search, type in the credential that you believe relates to the training that you're offering, and if it aligns, then you can definitely use that as your credential towards your training and your courses and everything. On the credential assistance tab, if you look under the related links section, you'll see again the vendor CA process guide, which is included in your invite email. Also, you can verify those certifications are there. After your user profile has been created in the AI portal, it's going to require certain items, and these are those additional items that we were telling you that would be required for your application. Business license, or for some of our aircraft, aviation representatives who are Part 141 or 61 schools, you may have an air agency certificate that you can submit in that. Some individuals, states do not require business licenses. If that's the fact for your area, a letter of authorization or a letter of organization saying that you have privileges to do business in that state is what you can submit there. The CB authorization letter. So this is a letter saying that the credentialing body, say we were going with the PMP again, it's an easy one to pull, and they're governed by the Project Management Institute. You would need a letter from them saying that your company is an authorized training provider for them. If you do not have that, we will need statistics, and this is where the training statistics come in. But you will need statistics showing at least 1 year's worth of data of how many individuals have taken and obtained the credential or licensure as a result of your training. So again, you want to either have that CV letter or those statistics showing who's passed the certification, not just passed your course within a minimal of a year's worth of data. You're going to have a Word document, simple Word document that's going to have your company's URL on it. That's all you have to put in there. And the course list, on your course list, we want you to make sure that it has a couple things that are critical here. Three things. One, the name of the course that you offer. Two, the name of the credential that you looked in Army Cool and found that it aligns to. And three, the total cost. Don't put any descriptive information in there. We'll talk about that in the application part of that, as well as about your descriptive information. But don't put any of that in there. We just need to know the name of the course, what it aligns to, and the total cost. And then, of course, again, like I said before, your cage code. You're going to want to make sure that you have that and that it's valid. If your documents don't load and you get an error message in the system, please note that it will only take PDFs and it can't be any larger than 4 MB. So if it's not taking it, you try that. We have the information to contact the help desk. If you've done that and it's the correct information and it's still not loading for you, we'll have the information for the help desk at the end of the slide deck here, so you'll have that as well. So when you go to the AI portal, this is what you're going to see on your first screen. You're going to come here and you're going to select register. After you select register, if your company has never been in the AI portal, you're going to start and select a new institution account. However, if you get into the AI portal after you've done the new institution account and you have a new employee that joins your company that's going to be working with Army CA, they're going to go and select a new user account because they'll be able to pull up the name of your company and then create their user account off of that information. So it links. Everybody in your organization that is going to work with Army CA has to have their own user account. Next page, it'll show you here the different ones you can sign up for. As you see, the Army Cool is there, the Army CA is there, excuse me, Air Force Cool is there, My CAA. You can do those other programs if you like. You would need to speak with them directly on their requirements for participating. But the one that we want you to focus on is that one right there in the green circle, the Army Credentialing Assistance Program. You're going to select that. Right here, you're going to type in the name of your institution. And I learned this during some training the other day when one of our vendors was helping me out with putting some information in the system. That if you type in your vendor name and then you hit enter, it will give you an error message that says that it doesn't exist. So, what you want to do there is you want to hit next. Make sure you hit the next button, or you'll have to go in and retype your vendor name and then hit the next. So don't hit enter, hit next. This is what the institution application is going to look like as you're starting it out. And I've got a couple slides here. You see your tax status, if you're for profit, not for profit, your teaching methods. So if you deliver information through the classroom, through online methods, or a hybrid of both, you'll have the option to select those. You'll put in your vendor's website right there in that spot. Make sure that it's not a third party's website. So if you offer training, but you receive all your information from Ed2Go, you're not going to put Ed2Go's website. You're going to put your website because that's who the payment is coming to. You're going to put your location information, your street address, city, state, zip code, and then you're going to start putting your supporting documents. And remember, we were talking about each one of those items that are required. This is where your business license and your credentialing body authorization letter is going to go. And this is all in the same document, but it wouldn't fit on one screen, so it's going to be a couple slides here. Next, you have your training metrics. If you do have a credentialing body letter, you can go ahead and submit that again under training metrics. Or if you have the training metrics, you're more than welcome to put that in there as well. Again, your website URL, make sure that it links to where your training and exams are going to be listed on your website so soldiers will be able to see that. The course exam list, like I talked about before, the name of the course, the credential it aligns to, the total cost. It can be on a Word document. And then, of course, down here, your business license expiration date. If you have like a letter of organization because your state doesn't require the business license, you can put 10 years out from the date that you put in for that you received your letter from the state. Your cage code and its expiration date. If you have additional comments here to us, you're more than welcome to submit that here. You're not required to. You'll hit next. You'll create a username and confirm it. You'll put in your title, your information, email, confirm the email. You'll certify it that you're an employee or authorized representative of the company that you're applying for. And here's the kicker right here. We have a lot of people who come in, and you know how this code here, it always wants you to duplicate what you see on the screen. This one's different. It wants you to add up the sum and provide the sum of what you see on the screen. So make sure you take a look at that, you add it together, and then you put it into the box. From here, this right here does not mean that your application has been submitted yet. This is just telling you that you're in the process of getting ready to submit your application and to finish it out. So you'll go ahead and hit submit there. And once you hit submit there, it'll give you another screen to tell you that it's been submitted and you should have some movement on it. I believe it's within 72 hours or so. We try to get to them as quickly as we can several times a week, but I know that Dottie does an awesome job of getting in there multiple times during the week and reviewing pending vendor applications and sending those out. If they're good to go, they'll send them to Miss Sweeney for her good to go to add them to the system, or she'll respond back to the vendor and say, hey, this is what you need to fix. If you need us to jump on a call with you, we can do that. So key takeaways there, it's reviewed weekly at a minimal by the ACAPO team. So again, once you submit your information in there, we will get to it. It'll be sent to the PM for final approval. Once approved, an approval email will be sent to you with the next steps of what you need to do. And if it's rejected, like I said, make sure that you pay attention to what she said to fix. You're going to have to resubmit your application through the system and with the requested documents so we can get that. Any questions there before we move on? How we doing out there, Sophia?
Far so good, but I do have a question for Adrian Bardia. Do you have a mic?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay, so you asked a question. Can you, you said regarding total cost, what if the exam fee is required to a resource other than the provider? Can you explain what you're trying to do?
Yes, so we provide training for the credential, but we don't provide the exam for the credential. There's a third party that does that.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not something you're selling. Somebody else would be selling the exam. You're just providing the training, correct?
That's correct.
Oh, then that's totally fine. You just can't bundle, right? So if you were asking, could you put them together or something like that, the answer would be no. But if you're just giving training, totally fine. You do not have to include the exam at all.
Okay.
And it's recommended if you don't offer something, don't put it on your application because it's only going to confuse the soldier when they go in and they're starting to put their stuff together for their CA request. They'll see something on your site and say, well, they said that they offer it, but now I need to go here and get it. If you don't offer it, like if it's if the exam, don't put it on your information. Anything else out there before I go on, Sophia?
Nope, that's it.
Awesome. Moving along. The approved vendor list. So, as of right now, all of you in the, I'm sure you can see the three little sections here, the approved, the pending further review. So right now, all of you are on this list here for the pending. We want to get each and every one of you onto the Army Ignited approved list because that provides more resources to our soldiers to be able to apply for. Pending further review is if a vendor says, hey, we don't want to participate at this time, but just keep our information in case we ever decide to. We'll keep it there in that folder. That way the soldier can look and see, hey, this vendor isn't available right now, but maybe in the future they may be. So again, we want to get you off of this list, and we want to get each and every one of you onto this list right here. That list is updated daily. Myself, Dottie, we work in that list every day, updating new vendors, moving vendors over that have been approved, moving other vendors to the pending vendor list. That's done every day. And then every month on the Army Cool site, this list will be uploaded under the Credentialing Assistance tab. So every month there is a fresh vendor list that's put out there. So if you say it's the 15th of May and you get approved as a new vendor, then you should be on that list for 1 June. Let's see, it's available for soldiers and vendors to see. And again, we need to make that pending vendor list smaller. Right now, there's about almost 1,800 of you on the pending vendor list. I would like that to be 0. So let's go, in my best Tom Brady expression. All right. So we're gonna jump over, and Mrs. Sweeney's gonna have some notes and everything for you, and I will pass the mic over to Sophia.
Thank you, Russell. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or morning. I guess depends on where you're at. My name is Sophia Sweeney. I'm the Credentialing Assistance and Army Cool Program Manager. I just want to address a few questions that I stated I would answer here while I got on. So first question is from SG, whoever the guest is. Initially, the speaker states active duty soldiers, the max is 4,000 per fiscal year, but then it was stated that 1,000 for active duty soldiers. When can a soldier use 4,000? 60 days after ETS. Can you explain how this works? Okay, so to kind of give you details on the program, soldiers get up to $4,000 per fiscal year to use towards pursuing any type of credential that's listed in Army Cool. So they are able to use that 4,000 towards training, books, materials, fees, recertifications, and exams. But in one instance, their active duty soldiers are limited to $1,000. And that would be for specific aviation credentials. Okay, so specific aviation credentials are limited to $1,000 per fiscal year. That means a soldier wants to pursue a private pilot's license. They're only going to get $1,000 for this fiscal year. And then next fiscal year, they can get another 1,000. So that one is broken down, and that is specific to active duty only. $4,000 per fiscal year applies to all soldiers, active duty, National Guard, reserves, as long as they're eligible. And again, all of the policies are listed inside the credentialing assistance page in Army Cool. But they are authorized $4,000 per fiscal year. They must be, whatever it is that they submit for or they want to pursue, it has to be completed 30 days prior to their ETS date, right? So if they were working on, PMP, well, that's always one we use, as long as they're complete with that prior to, or 30 days prior to their ETS, good to go. There are other types of instances where they might be done, like, if they're being medically retired or boarded, then, in that case, that's another situation that we address at that specific time. Okay, so hope that answers your question on that one, SG. If not, please feel free to come on the mic and ask for something else if I didn't answer what you were looking for.
Yes, thank you. This is Steve, SG. So a National Guard and reservists can use 4,000 per fiscal year, but an active duty can only use 1,000 per fiscal year.
That is correct, and it's only on the policy, whatever credential is listed on that policy. So inside the credentialing assistance program page, you can download the policy on what credentials, soldiers and active duty soldiers can only use $1,000 towards. And it's majority, well, they're all aviation credentials. So just in that instance, but National Guard and reservists can use the 4,000 for or towards aviation credentials.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. The next.
I'm sorry. I wanted to make a clarification. So the $1,000 for active duty is for all programs that are available to active duty, which are limited to aviation, or?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you if you're.
Oh, sorry. My mic turned back off. For the $1,000 for active duty is so active duty members can only ever use $1,000 and only towards approved aviation programs, or they only get 1,000 for those programs, but if they wanted to do another program, they could use the 4,000.
Correct. It's not just the $1,000 limitation is only for aviation credentials, only for aviation credentials for active duty only, right? So if
Okay.
and and I said National Guard and Reserve can use 4,000, but if those National Guard and Reservists are on Title 10 or Title 32 hour orders, bringing them onto active duty, the $1,000 applies to them. It's
But
only if
no, that makes sense. But an active duty member not wanting to take an aviation, but something else that's approved, they would get 4,000 while they're active duty.
yes, or
Okay.
yeah, active duty National Guard reservists that are not pursuing a specific, credential, they can use it towards anything. So going back to that active duty that only gets $1,000 towards the aviation credential, they might use $1,000 towards that aviation credential, but then they want to use the rest of the $3,000 towards something else like PMP or fitness or SHRM or whatever. So they can still use the rest of the $3,000. It's just that if they wanted to pursue aviation credentials, they only have $1,000 for that one credential per fiscal year.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Nathan?
Yeah, I was wondering, so my organization, we have a test, but we also have an administrative body for the certification portion of the test where the actual test takes place and they take payment. So my question is, since they receive payment, do we have to have them also become an approved vendor, the university?
If let's just, if you don't offer to pay for that test place or wherever it is that they got to do to take the actual exam, if you don't take it, then whoever it is that would be able to give it, they would have to be a vendor to accept the payment for that exam. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yep. And let's just say they didn't, or if they didn't, then, at that point, that is the SODER's out-of-pocket cost. If that other place is not a vendor currently to where they could not accept payment.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I have a general question. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Yes, to be part of this program, does the school have to be financially approved or not?
Financially approved?
Financial aid approved. Do we have to be
no.
approved to receive federal funds?
No, you don't.
Okay.
So for this program, tuition assistance on it's our other program, right?
Yes.
That's a different, agreement, DoD MOU, that kind of stuff. That is different, right? But for the credentialing assistance program, we have vendors who are small businesses, credentialing agencies,
Okay.
colleges, universities. Yeah,
Got it.
You do
Thank
not have
you.
to meet those. Yeah, no problem. You do not
Thank
have to have a DoD MOU signed, agreement.
Okay.
We
Perfect.
have our own. Mhm.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. And I did mention $4,000 per fiscal year. That is to be split with tuition assistance as well. So if a SODER is pursuing both tuition assistance and credentialing assistance, they only have $4,000 per fiscal year. So some SODERs will, they don't get 4,000 for CA and 4,000 for TA. It is just a combined $4,000 to use towards your courses or your credentials or a combination of both.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Are they able to use the 4,000 for CA, and let's say the program they wanted to take is like 6,000? So obviously they only get 4,000 from CA. Can they then use their GI Bill benefits for the remaining two, or can these not be used together?
Yeah, so they can absolutely do that. It is not this. I don't know if you're an academic institution or not, but AIs or tuition assistants can, SODERs can use top up, which is a combination of TA and GI Bill. We don't have top up, but what we do have is they are allowed to use their GI Bill for anything outside of what we fund, but that is between them and the VA, not between us and the VA.
Okay.
However, Glad you brought that up because we do have a lot of vendors that offer credentials or license. We'll use pilot's license because that's expensive, right? Obviously, unless you already have one, 4,000 is not going to cover the entire license. So what we do is a lot of vendors break those out into phases. So in your example, you said $6,000. If we paid $4,000, the other $2,000 is out of pocket or however they get it funded, and they can no longer ask for that one again, right? If it's a training. But if you broke that down into two phases, meaning this phase one costs $4,000, phase two is $2,000, we could fund both, right? So in private pilots, we have vendors breaking it down into phase one, phase two, phase three, so that even though, however many hours of whatever it is that they need, they break them down into sections or phases so that the soldier is able to go back every year to use it for the next phase. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so Nathan, you still have your hand up. Are you good?
Yeah, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Go ahead, CDS, Angela.
So I did put it in the chat too, but for example, we had a soldier call in yesterday asking about this program. He's only active duty for 1 year so far. Is there a minimum amount of service before this is available to the service member?
Nope, they can use it as soon as they get or they complete basically basic training. After they
And
complete
is it
that.
this wonderful? Is this the same thing for, like, say, National Guard, or is there a different time service
No,
requirement?
it's the same for all components, active duty, National Guard, and reservists.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so I think I'm going to get to my slides. Russell did talk about, making sure the credential is an Army Cool. I wanted to make sure I hit Army Cool so you know where to go, where to look in case you've never been to Army Cool. So Army Cool, I'm sure you've seen it already. It's been up there for quite some time. It is a public facing site, so anybody can use it. Doesn't require any type of credential or anything. So you can go directly to the website itself. And if you can see on the homepage, there is a credentialing assistance program button, the yellow button that says credentialing assistance program. If you clicked on that, that takes you right to our credentialing assistance page where you can see the policies, you can see the step-by-step guides and so forth and all the information. Also on there, we have our own virtual counseling cell. Now, the credentialing assistance program, ACAPO's program, we have our own virtual counselors. They are not related to the education centers. They are specific and specialized in just credentialing assistance. And they are only available to soldiers, not to vendors, not to ed center counselors. Okay, so if you run into, or if soldiers have questions that you have no idea about or whatever, please send them there, right? Just tell them to go to the Credentialing Assistance Program page. They can make an appointment with our counselors who can walk them through the process. I tell you that because we have a lot of vendors currently that have questions from soldiers and they don't know how to answer, obviously, because it's really not their job, right? So we always have them send them to our virtual counselors where the soldiers can be helped by them. All right, so from this home page, if you don't know if you're whatever training you're trying to offer, it must lead to a credential that's listed in Army Cool. So up top, you can see where it says credential search. If you clicked on that, next slide, please. It'll take you right to the page. So we have over 2,000 credentials listed in Army Cool. It's kind of hard to find if you try to go page by page, but we do have a place where you can search by keyword or by industry or, I can't even think of the next one, but you have the ability to filter or search. So if you type in that, or there it is. If you type in the keyword, for example, I'll use PMP, type it in, and then it'll pull up everything that has, or every credential that has PMP listed. So next slide, please. So just like I was saying, in that top upper left corner, you'll see where I typed in PMP and 2 credentials popped up. The one I was looking for was project management professional. So you can see on there the details, whether it's a in-demand type of credential. Every credential in here is worth promotion points to somebody that still needs promotion points, right? If they're pursuing, or if they're using credentialing assistance and they earn a credential, they automatically get 10 promotion points for some of the younger soldiers who still need them, which is outstanding. But if you clicked on credential details itself, in the bottom right, I guess, corner, you can see where the summary page for that credential is. You'll find the information on the credential. You'll also find the credentialing agency. I circled that, the information there. So to be a vendor for the CA program, Russell already went over, having to have a credentialing body letter. This is what we're looking for the most, is the credentialing body letter authorizing you to participate or to provide their training or their exams, whatever it is that they authorize. Maybe you are selling, materials for them, something like that. We must have a credentialing body letter authorizing you to do that. Now, of course, there are some credentialing bodies that will not allow others to sell their stuff. Maybe they are the only ones that want to sell it. That doesn't mean that you don't provide training that helps lead a soldier to that. So when we talk about statistics, we're saying we need something to show us that in the past year, you have been given this training, and after a soldier, or not even a soldier, it could be a student, any student, a year's worth of students have passed the PMP exam based off of the training that you gave them. I don't want to see stats on how many passed your course, right? That's too easy. I want to see that the stats that you have show that the soldiers, or I say soldiers, but the students that took your class actually passed the credential. That is what we're looking for when we're looking at statistics, if you don't have a credentialing body letter. Hopefully that made sense. And do you have another question, or is your hand still just raised, Angela? Lower your hand. Okay. So any questions here? We always get this question when it comes to, where to find credentials and so forth. So hopefully hopefully you'll look through Army Cool and do some more research on what it is that you'd like to provide. Sometimes we have colleges and universities that will not want to participate because they think that they have to offer the exam, right? And you don't. You don't have to offer the exam. As long as what you're providing helps a soldier, get closer to that actual credential, that is, you're able to participate as long as you meet the criteria. Okay. So hopefully that, go ahead, Andre.
Thank you very much. Apologies for my accent, so I'll talk slowly. So when I've gone onto this site, and we've been requested by one of the soldiers to be put on this list for a particular course, but we are obviously a course provider for different bodies as well. So if we are nominated for one course, but we actually are, and I go through this credential system and I find other courses where we also provide the training for that credential, am I allowed to also provide that information, or should I only stick to the one that we've been requested for or nominated for?
Oh, no, absolutely. You can add more credentials. So yeah, so if somebody says, hey, I want PMP training from you, but then you say, oh, well, shoot, I offer Kaplan training, I offer Agile training, I offer all these other trainings. You can absolutely submit that with your application. As long as you have all the, again, credentialing body letters, that kind of thing. Yeah, you can
Okay.
absolutely add more. Mhm.
Okay, so it's not limited to what we've been nominated or requested for. We can add anything that we are accredited training provider for, that we can find a matching credential.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Is it a single process then, or do we have to go through the process every single time?
It's only one time that you have to actually do the application, right? So
Yeah.
if you submitted your application just for PMP alone, and again, I'm sorry, it's easier just to say PMP. But if you submit it just for PMP, you already got approved, you're now a vendor for the CA program, and then you say, oh, well, I actually have all these other classes that I'd like to add. All you have to do is email us with the list, and that is something that I think Dottie can provide in the email, or Russell can provide in the email, all of the different, like I want to add all these courses. We have a spreadsheet that you just add them all onto and send it to us, and we'll review them. And then if all is good, we'll say, okay, good to go. Go ahead and add all those courses.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Ian?
Yeah, you mentioned that soldiers are able to take these courses for promotions and these kinds of things. Is there a reporting requirement involved here? Do we need to send someone reporting grades and these kinds of things, or is that something that soldiers are able to do?
Oh, no, that is a great question. Thank you for asking that. Actually, that helps us build our next pending vendor session slide deck. But yes, so part of the MOA is that you agree to add or provide the certificate of completion to the SODR and in the system. Okay, so if you provide training and you are whatever, okay, let's just say PMP training, you're providing it. SODR completed the training. They have a specific start and end date that they've selected. Within 30 days of that end date, or if they completed earlier, you must go back into the system and add the grades. Okay. Now, if you happen to sell the exam or you offer the exam, but you don't receive the results, right? You just sell similar to Pearson VUE. I sell the exam, but I don't receive the grades. Then in that case, it would be the SODR's responsibility to provide their grades to us so that we could update their grade in the system.
Okay, so yep. So if we just provide the training and then another person, another vendor maybe provides the exam, then the exam provider is responsible for this, or?
Right. If they are, if the exam provider receives the results, they would be required to upload those grades. Or again, if they don't receive the results or they're unable to give those results, then the SODR is responsible to provide it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, but this will be, again, if you become a vendor, all of this is discussed in the actual approved vendor sessions. We go into detail about, what your next steps are. This is just the basics for how you get into the program. But I know I'm getting out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it back over. Hope to see you all as approved vendors or see your applications come through. Thank you all very much. Back to you, Russell.
Thanks, Sophia. And again, up here on the screen, if you've got questions or concerns, you can email myself, Dottie Sophia. I know Dottie has already put that into the chat, or you can email the organizational box. It's located right there at the top. That's our new email address. To locate the list of credentials, again, that's going back to Army Cool. That's the link right there. The credentialing assistance page to go directly to where everything like the approved vendor list and the top 5 credentials that we're seeing go through. You can use that right there. The guideline on DoD logos, if you want to use a DoD logo in your marketing or something like that, you can put it right there. Also, when talking about marketing, if you want to send something out so that potential students can see it, just make sure you send it to myself, Sophia, and Dottie first, so we can review it and make sure that it's good to go. and then we'll let you know if you can proceed or what needs to be adjusted. The cage code information, there's the email address for sam.gov. And then, of course, the AI portal with all of the vendors we'll be working with is located right there. If you have technical issues, meaning you try to log into the system and it won't take your password or it's not showing your business and you're already in there, this would be a technical issue. This is the information to contact the help desk. They are only there to deal with technical issues. Anything else, you'd probably need to come through us and ask us about. But if it's on the technical side, you go right here and you can contact them by phone or by email. And so we've gotten to the end here. Again, any questions from the audience before we give you back about a minute and a half of your time? Well, outstanding. Well, look, again, we appreciate each and every one of you jumping on here with us. I know Sophia and the guy, they're still answering a few questions in the chat box there, but the objective here today is I hope that each and every one of you get off this call and say, you know what? I need to fill out that MOA and send it in so we can get this going and get each and every one of you as an approved vendor as a part of the Army CA family. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for what you do. And we hope to see you out there helping our soldiers.
Oh, Mr. Russell.
Yes.
Oh, Mr.
Sorry, you're cutting out for me there, sir.
Sorry about that. You know, I'm thinking about a different methodology because I overheard if you don't have the letter from the credentialing body that you have to have a year's worth of statistics. What about a startup?
If it's a startup and you don't have statistics on it, you're not going to be able to add that credential or that course into the system until you have at least a year's worth of data. Or you have that CB letter.
So what about in this instance? Say, oh, I'm a startup and I want to partner with somebody that does have the credential.
You're saying your company of the startup?
Yes, we're a startup and we're
So,
more or less. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, have you been in business for at least 2 years? Because that's a big kicker with the program.
Yes, we've been in business for a couple of years now.
Okay, so if you're looking to, and again, we have a lot of businesses that team up with like Ed2Go and some of these providers. If you've got an organization that may already be approved for Army CA and that they're working directly with you or you under them, excuse me, you can request the letter from them showing that you are authorized to work with them for this credential. We see that with Ed2Go with a lot of our AIs that come through and they get the information directly from Ed2Go. But they may have just started the program within the last year or so. So they go through the higher level body that's been in business for longer and provide the information to us that they're approved to go under them.
No problem. No problem.
Mr. Russell,
Yes, ma'am.
if we don't get the grades, do we add them or do you don't want to add the grades, right, for the students?
So if you don't get the grades directly, the soldiers will be required to submit that into the system to us. They have a message board that they can use in Army Ignited. Send that information directly to us, and then we'll input the grades for them.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, ma'am. Anyone else out there? Well, I hope that each and every one of you enjoy the month of May. I hope you're not getting beat down with the weather like we are out here in Kansas or the rest of the team is over in Kentucky with the tornadoes and everything else. But we hope to see each and every one of you become an approved vendor with the Army CA program. And thank each and every one of you for your time today. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye, son.
I'm going to stop the recording here.